Neeraj, first to you. Same uncertain regard after 10 years. And the second feature film, what took you so long?
I myself have been questioning what took me so long. Of course, one of the reasons that I can tell you personally also is that this whole imposter syndrome that I carry with, and this immense sense of self-doubt that goes in. And I think every filmmaker goes through that self-doubt. But in my case, I think it has been accentuated a lot since the first time at Cannes. I think it triggered during the applause that I got. But since then, I think I've been trying to find some, and I don't know how it sounds, but like trying to find meaning in a meaningless world. Um, and so this film has been that quest to find that connection, that what drives you as a human being, what are the things that move you. I've been trying to I mean, Karan and I were trying to make one film together which didn't take shape.
Mhm.
It was a biopic, but sadly it didn't pan out the way we were intending to. So this film, I think I'm very happy that we got on board. We've been wanting to work together. And contrary to like this popular perception that oh my God, Neeraj just reached out to this one, that one, to bridge the gap of like cinema, or like an independent filmmaker like me from the background that I come from, and going to Karan Johar from the commercial world. What is happening? Am I trying to be disruptive? No, actually, it genuinely came from a place of like wanting to have people that you trust, people. And it's always been my thing that I want to work with people who have kindness. There's a basic thing. Entire crew members, all of them have to have this basic tenet of being kind. So I found that thing in Karan, where, and I saw that in Gili Pucci. I did make actually during this time I did make a couple of films like Gili Pucci or Juice, or I even got into like Made in Heaven and Sacred Games. I did work, but I was trying to find something that really speaks to me, like questions me and allows me to question others. That was the whole idea. And also, I think I moved a lot by the themes of class, gender, sexuality, intersectionality, and that has been my fulcrum of everything I do. So, um, pertinently, I think class is a thing that motivates me a lot. I'm drawn more towards the stories of the subaltern, towards people who've not been heard, something that speaks on their behalf and not have a gaze of us urban folk or a festival gaze or any of those, but to deeply come from within, from their world. That has been my quest. So yeah, so when this thing happened, that we have a story that we all can talk together and that will bring it to fruition. And that's the thing, like I believe that, like if I were to make again, I think I'll still make it with Karan, because he has the sensibility. And I saw that in Gili Pucci. There was I don't know, Karan, if I can say this, like it was Netflix had said it has to be 30 minutes, and the film that turned out to be was 43 minutes, and I had to show it. And Karan, before that, has not at all got into anything. Like, he, of course, read the script multiple times, but he gave me everything that I could. He empowered me everywhere that I could. And he saw the, I said, Karan, can you watch it? Because I don't know how to cut it. And he saw and he said, this is perfect. You don't have to cut anything. I'll convince Netflix. That's the producer that I really want to work with, who understands, maybe our cinematic tastes are different, but at a human level, we connect. We have the same kindness, we have the same empathy towards people. And which is what the collaborator that I would love to again work with.
Mhm, mhm. Which
Like,
brings me to you, Karan. I think I'll carry forward the same. He had a lot to say about you. What made you come on board for this film for Neeraj? Because, like he said, the sensibility cinema is very different. Uh, uh, how did you kind of jump onto this opportunity?
Namrata, that answer is very simple. I didn't have to jump on the opportunity. Like every, he had me at Neeraj. Like it was like literally, it was like Neeraj doing something. I want to produce it. I want to be a part of it. I was blown away by his debut feature, Masan. I had the opportunity of seeing it right after it burst open at Cannes, and met with all that critical acclaim and success, and I absolutely loved it. Subsequently, we we met, and collaborated, and even when like he agreed to do one of the films on the anthology Ajib Dastan, I was like over the moon that he was part of it. I think he really added a lot of gravitas to the ensemble of directors. Loved Gili Pucci, have loved Juice that he directed. Just love his work. A huge admirer of his talent. I also think Namrata, I tend to get generalized and slotted, and no matter what I do, nobody can yank me out of that space. For some reason, I'll always be representative of a certain brand of cinema. And no matter what I've tried to achieve in the world of storytelling, I don't think that I'm able to shrug off. I still think right now, the fact that we are a mainstream studio that has an officially selected film at Cannes, which I think is no mean achievement for us as a studio, but I don't think
Absolutely.
we're
Yeah.
ever going to get the credit for that. They will still go on about Nadania, but nobody will talk about the fact that we have a film that is officially selected, the fact that I've collaborated with Neeraj Ghaywan, the fact that this is our second outing together, that not only, and my love for him, and he knows that, is in abundance. My respect for him and reverence for him is in abundance. But I've taken those chances previously with even content and stories and storytelling. Myself have been part of an anthology. I began with Bombay Talkies, did Love Stories, and subsequently Ghost Stories, but no one's ever talking about any of these things. It's like, it's I think sadly I don't get like that credit, and now I don't seek it anymore, because I'm just proud that I could be a part of Homebound, because I absolutely love, and had Neeraj not sent me the script of Homebound, it was a script of something else or anything it was, and he said, I want to make this, I would say I'm on board. So it has nothing to do with what the story was. It was the fact that Neeraj wanted to tell a story, wanted to direct it, and I was on board. I always believe in the filmmaker first. And like Neeraj very kindly put it, that we have like a mutual respect and love for each other and admiration for each other as human beings. And I think that to me, Namrata, is very important. I think I've always done my worst work with people who I don't like. If I don't like you, I don't think I can make a good film, no matter how good the stories or screenplay. Somehow it hasn't worked out. Somehow I think that the personal touch, or rather the personal connect that I have with a filmmaker, really shows up even on the final product. Um, when I saw Homebound, I had a meltdown at the end. Like I really was weeping, and like he was looking at me, thinking like I'm going through some kind of, some kind of cathartic reaction, because the world of the film is far removed from the cinema I have directed or many of the films I may have produced. But emotions are universal. The connect of characters and stories and their trials and tribulations, as inherently as characters and protagonists of a certain story, how can that not touch anyone? So Masan can move me as much as absolutely huge mainstream commercial outing. Films and stories are like universal, and I think that I relate to Neeraj, the filmmaker, the human being, so much that I hope and pray that he never goes to any other producer even after this. And if he
Uh,
does, he'll have to deal with the consequences on a personal level with me. I'll just fight with him. That's what I mean.
Neeraj, coming back to you, shorts and series in the middle. You also did ads, didn't you? In the
Yeah.
middle, yeah. But when you come to this particular story, this particular subject, what's so special about Homebound that you chose this to be your second film?
I mean, yeah, yeah, I also dabbled into ads and stuff. And my problem, or I actually call it as a problem, is that I honestly, when I get into something, I sink my teeth into it. Like I'm fully immersed into it. Like even a commercial, like ad film directors, agencies and clients, they are sometimes surprised that we've never seen such kind of involvement with any director before. So I get into it. And also, see, Homebound attracted me more because the times that we live in, the best way to talk about the times that we do live in is via friendship. It's a theme that is so universal, that cuts across so many boundaries and so many regions and geographies, that it is the ideal way to talk about something. And this story came to me, um, uh, which really stirred something inside of me. And I thought that all the things that I want to say about the people that we, for instance, like there's what 60% of economy or 65% of economy is agrarian and rural. I mean, do you see we have completely forgotten in our cinema. We only cater to the 15% urban population, or now the small town is a new urban. And also it's a gaze. It is a point of view of us urban folk in towards them. A story of friendship cuts across boundaries, and I think that is the ideal way to start. And honestly speaking, like I also want to come from a place of um coming from a place of empathy, and I don't want to deride anyone. I don't want to put down anyone. Come from a place of even to the people who are transgressed and not talking about humanity and kindness. I want to hold their hand and tell them, maybe let's have a rethink. I get it, what happened to you, but like, can we rethink? Can we recalibrate ourselves towards the greater good of humanity and have compassion for each other? That is what absolutely drew it for me. Like friendship, I think Karan and my friendship also blossomed through this film, and also, of course, earlier, but through this film. And also, I think Karan, the way he talks about himself, I think, you would be surprised. I was actually, he has such amazing points about everything. I think he's telling himself commercial and doesn't have the sensibilities. But I have, like, even in the earlier script that I had, he had such amazing inputs. And even in this film, he read the screenplay twice and he remembered more than me. And he had all the correct points and he understood, like, he had very genuine feedback and points to tell me. So I feel, when such a thing happens where you connect at a deeper level, it doesn't matter if I am talking to a Hungarian art house filmmaker or it would be a commercial filmmaker here or anything. I think we all filmmakers at a human level connect at that premise, I guess.
Mhm. Karan, what did you think about the screenplay, the story? Since he said that you had some very valid points to make about the screenplay.
Actually, it's bizarre, and that he said, not bizarre, well, the fact that it's ironic that he brings up friendship, because to me, I've always been very deeply moved by tales of friendship, having being an only child, with no siblings and growing up with my own set of complexes. I really used to lean on my friends, who eventually in life, because even my mom doesn't, like, she has family, but I'm low on family. Like we don't have much family. And when my dad passed away 20 years ago, my big support system came from my friends. They continue to be my support system. So I am always deeply moved by friendship stories. Every time I've seen one, they make me cry more than parent-child relationship stories, or, like, all kinds of other love stories or friendship stories have always moved me to tears. When I read Homebound, that is what was my takeaway from it. Was the core At the core of it, it's a friendship story. It's totally a story of two friends and their ups and downs. And within friendships, there are insecurities, there are egos. There's also a sense of hidden competitiveness. It's like sometimes you say, na, like, it's like अपनों के बीच में सबसे ज्यादा कभी-कभी energies are, a little kind of skewed towards jealousies and envies, and it happens. It's just natural when two people are friends. I've seen it happen with myself. I've seen it happen with other friends, and I love that beyond all the layers and sub layers that Homebound has, and it has them in abundance. Um, at its heart, it's a film about two friends, their ups and downs, their struggles, their trials, their tribulations, and eventually their last journey. Um, which I don't want to say anything about and give you no spoilers, but eventually it's the journey of two friends, and in many ways, Homebound, I'd like to tell you, has a deep rooted significance. Even the title has such significance, and that's what I love about Homebound. It's much like an onion. You can peel away and you might still not, but every peel gives you a certain odor, and every peel will make you discover something else. And if you watch it once, I don't think it's enough. I feel you need to watch it again, revisit it, for you to really, really, really deeply dive into the subtext. And I think any great film has beautiful subtexts. And because they're also hidden away and tucked away by the filmmaker and the writers. And I think Homebound will give you all that, in abundance. I loved the screenplay. I was crying at the end of the film when I read it. I was crying at the end when I watched it. And I think that's the greatness of a filmmaker, that he or she are actually able to translate a beautiful piece of writing and take it to an altogether different level. And I mean, Neeraj is just saying I gave points. I just think he's always very kind. I'm not sure I gave any great, feedback points that really moved the needle in the film. I enjoyed it like a filmmaker would reading a great piece of writing. Uh, and when I watched it, I felt that it came back with me. And in a sense, it took me into some of my own zones of friendship. So demographically and geographically, the friendships portrayed by the two lead protagonists are in a totally different environment from the life that I have or the life that I've grown up in. But the points that the friendship talks about, I think, can hit home to anyone, no matter which country, no matter which culture. Which is why I felt that this was not a film for just the regional market or for the local market. It's a film for the world. I think you will find deep amount of resonance with the material.
But the whole definition of indie has been a kind of film which is not associated with the mainstream studio. But now Neeraj having brought this conversation forward in a way, saying that the way indie cinema used to be in India is dead, and we are looking for funding, from Europe, co-productions, stuff like that. You seem to be offering another model. How viable is it, Neeraj? How helpful would it be? And Karan, what would your commitment to be to such a model where you get an indie sensibility story, but you have a big guy like you backing it?
I mean, I think Karan has a longer answer to this, but for me, as an independent spirited director, because there's no independent, we can't call ourselves indie anymore. For me, what helps is that co-productions is a very long process, and you have to also involve both the governments, or two, three governments at a time when it is a co-production across the countries. That is a longer cycle, and also there is a lot of pressure to make a certain kind of film. With Homebound, what happened is that I could deep dive exactly the way I want to. Of course, the way you make it, but in the ethos of it, I don't have to adhere to a European ethos or a idiom that I have to follow. I had absolute freedom to make the way I want to. And then we're going, and it's not like, just because I'm going to Dharma, it's like we'll make it in, like, say I was making in 10 crore and I'm suddenly making the 45 crores. No, it won't. Because a film has to have a certain budget. Even a film like Homebound needs to be made in a certain budget. It can't be just because Dharma is doing it. I can't be like, splurging myself, because that kind of mars the whole idea of how you want to make that model sustain. And this is a very, very interesting model because, I mean, of course, Karan was already asking, but he doesn't need to ask me. Like, I would want to make another film with him because this model is perfect for me. It helps me because also, you feel empowered. You feel, this one thing that I noticed in Dharma office, the energy flows top down. And I see that in interaction with every employee of Dharma. They show that kindness and inherent nature of Karan that it actually exuberates in every single person in the office. That is a sense of comfort that we in the film, because we are already so insecure, we're already so worried that, what will the current dispensation say about the film? What will happen? Will it get made? Will it get released and all? But we are getting a platform where we're getting not only just empowered, but also we're in kind hands. That is, something else. Karan.
Mhm.
Uh, no, but thank you for that. And I mean, I don't know. I think some things I think I've just inherited from my dad. Like I just feel like he had a certain way of running the organization that was always about dealing with people. And he always felt like if you make a film that is a massive success and the people on that set were unhappy, then he said to me, that's not a successful film. He says, a happy crew is a blockbuster film, and that somehow is just percolated within the system. Um, but when you speak about the model, Namrata, I don't have anything clever to say to you, or I have nothing like strategic to say to you, and definitely nothing business-like to say to you about it. It's really my instinct on the filmmaker, or sometimes the material. Like, I'll take you back to a couple of years ago when I heard the script of Kill. I knew it was not the quintessential mainstream actor. It was action, but it was definitely what you can call independent action, because it was like high concept within a train, expensive, leaning on completely new actors, and with a Korean crew that was going to come and spend the money. We completely funded that film on our own. There was no studio money. It was nothing. We didn't know we were going to be selected at Toronto, win the audience award at Midnight Madness. None of that was that Lionsgate was going to pick it up. I didn't know any of it. Similarly, with Homebound, Neeraj Ghaywan is the reason we produce it. Can we do many of these? I'm not so sure. I'm not sure that I would replicate this model with anyone else. I think I would do this only with Neeraj Ghaywan at this point of time. And we have been offered, several films have come on our table after that. And it's not because I don't believe in those stories, but I also, we're a funded, we have an investment, with now others company invested money in us, and we are accountable. Every quarter, we have to be accountable to what, like, the P&Ls are and profitability, etc. But there are certain films that you want to also make because you want to also garner respect, garner not just the money. If we make money on Homebound, trust me, that's like a huge upside. But I I'm doing this just for the love and respect and for pushing the boundaries of independent cinema within the mainstream arena. And that's really what, like, I want to do. And I'm not going to lie to you, but I always seek and that validation from the respect community, from like the intellectual community, the critical community. And no matter what, I try and pretend to be above it. I'm not. I get so excited when a film of mine gets critical acclaim. I'm like a kid in a candy store when I wake up to amazing reviews, and that's rare at Dharma. It doesn't happen with every film. It happens the few times and many times that it has happened. I'm like so excited. So I can never be that filmmaker who will turn around and tell you, oh, like, I don't care what the critics say. I don't care what the intellectuals have to say. No, I do. I'm I don't know if I'm happy to report that I do or I'm sad to report that I do, but I do care. I do seek the validation of cinephile intellectual audiences across the world, and definitely in my country. And no matter what I might like say with anger sometimes when they diss a certain film, and I'll say something because that's my immediate sporadic instinctive reaction to criticism. But in my heart, I'm still seeking the validation of so many. And once in a while, there comes this opportunity where I can get that validation, and I'm going to grab it with open arms. And that's my answer. I have nothing
I
else
mean,
to say, intellectually or like strategically or the viability. I mean, we can't make Homebound and think it's a money spinner, right? You can't look at it with that gaze. You have to look at it that this is the film that is going to take our cinema forward in the globe, and that's in the global arena of filmmaking, and that's all I can really hope for.
and nothing could be bigger in that zone than Homebound, Karan, because Scorsese is now going to have a credit in the film. I
Yes,
mean,
my God.
how was what was the initial reaction, or was it in the talks for very long about his association? Neeraj, I'm going to come to you later. First, let me know from Karan. To have him as EP, he'd be the EP, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he's an executive producer on the film, and I think I'm a little still in shock. I mean, I'm not exactly calibrating this reality. I'm not sure how to react because I've been a huge Martin Scorsese fan across all his work. The fact that he has this mind, the fact that he cares for archival, the archives of Indian cinema and cinema across the world, the fact that he's so passionate, the fact that his notes have been so incredible, that the fact that he watched the film, fine-combed it, gave Neeraj so many incredible points, the fact that I'm privy to that information, the fact that his name is on a film that has Dharma Productions as well on the same film. I mean, I don't know. It's like an out-of-body experience for me. I'm not sure how to react to this. I never thought there would come a day that I would be producing a film which also had a credit with Martin Scorsese's name. I mean, like, where does that happen? Like, it doesn't happen at all to anyone. And I don't think I can express myself or say anything. I'll be full of large words of excitement, but they'll be just words. But the feeling is not, I'm not able to describe the feeling to you. And yes, it's been in talks for a while. Until it came in black and white to us, I didn't believe it. Till it was like, yes, it's a true. Milita, we have to thank her. She's made it happen. She's entirely the reason for Martin Scorsese to be a part of our film. And I think both Neeraj and I are eternally grateful to her for making this happen. His validation, his presence is enormous, for us to say the least. Um, there are certain moments in your life where you feel अभी हो गया है, अभी इससे ज्यादा मैं क्या क्या ही उखाड़ लूंगा, अभी सिनेमा में. तो दिस इज वन ऑफ दोज मोमेंट्स फॉर मी कि इसके बाद मैं क्या उखाड़ लूंगा जो इससे बेहतर हो या इससे बिगर हो सकता है.
Mhm, mhm. Neeraj, tell me, let me go through the process with you. I mean, once the film was completed, was it Melita who then took it to Marty? I mean, how
No,
did it
actually,
come
his
up?
involvement came in way before. Actually, I
Mhm,
would say more than a year. Because what was happened, as you know, Masan was supposed to be presented by him, and he had really liked it. But yeah, classic pitfalls of co-production again. Like it didn't happen because of there was a whole inter-producer cluster.
mhm, mhm.
But I think later on, I think when I started writing and I got Melita on board because she has been there with my first film, and me, Karan both know her, and I asked Karan that we should bring her on board. She came in on board as an international consultant and international producer, would guide us through, generally the international language of making it. Once she came on board, I think that's when we discussed. So, I mean, I have the same disbelief that Karan has right now because it's honestly speaking, it's still not sunk in. It took me a while to like actually. Um, he first read the script, then he gave me notes, then he's read it 3 times. Okay, he's given me notes every time. Okay, and and I'm going to tweak and I'm going to do a lot of things, and then the film gets made, and again he watched it 3 times. Throughout this process, like I had banned everyone to even know, like not very 3-4 people in the crew knew about it, apart from the producers, of course. Like nobody knew about it, and the code word was we'd say "Bade Papa." बड़े पापा ने ऐसा खाया गया, बड़े पापा ने किया गया. And that's how we would say because we were, and it was to be so surreal to just like be on a Zoom call with him where he's discussing, he'd ask me to send his the continuity sheet, and he would discuss with me. He would say, scene number 137, you think that this character would go from here? I'm not so sure. I'm like, he's actually mentioning the character names of my film and he's talking about it and he's giving me motivation. It was absolutely like Karan says, it's an out of body experience to sit there across the master of cinema. Like he's literally the biggest filmmaker right now. And he is going on talking about it and he's discussing. And it's also like, and there were also moments where I would also like tell him that, I appreciate your point, but I want to keep this because of certain reasons, because I also come from certain background I want to talk about. And he was so patiently listening to all of that. It is rare. And somebody to just do it for plain love of cinema, there is absolutely no ulterior motive around it. To is just like I don't know if I can ever be able to be so benevolent and so like kind to like actually go through someone and go all of that. Like,
So both of you met him, sat across the table with him, or
no,
was
actually,
it done over
sad
Zoom
story.
or? Uh-huh. Sorry.
It's a sad story.
I've never met him I had the privilege of meeting him in Berlin.
Mhm.
When he and Leo came to meet Shah Rukh when we were premiering My Name Is Khan in 2010. And he had come to meet Shah Rukh, and I was in the room at that time, and they were showing Shutter Island in the same year. And we were just, and 1 hour he sat, we chatted about so much. And that was the first time I met Martin Scorsese. But I've never met him in the course of the Homebound journey. But Neeraj has had the privilege of many a Zoom chat and interaction and call. And
So is he going to be in Cannes to present it? What's the scene? Is he planning to be there?
I'm not so sure. I don't think so.
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
He
Okay. Okay.
actually, I think he's busy writing. Actually, he was writing his film in the middle of the in the middle. Actually, he took time to give me the final points on the final cut that he sent to scan. So because
Mhm.
before that he had seen multiple versions, but he said that yeah, so I don't think he'll come because although I was wagering a guess that he might come to give away the award to De Niro because there's no other person who can hand a palm to De Niro, but
Mhm,
I'm not so sure.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Coming to Cannes, Karan, correct me if I'm wrong, but was Bombay Talkies shown at Cannes?
Yeah, at the
So,
director fortnight. Yeah.
okay, okay, in Director's Fortnight. So you had traveled there at that time. How many times have you been to Cannes?
I've been to Cannes several times actually.
Mhm,
My very first time at Cannes was when actually when Christian had come to meet me for Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum to be the big Bollywood premiere in the year
mhm,
2002. And
mhm,
unfortunately, my film was releasing December 2021, and I couldn't delay it, by 6 months. And at that point in time, then Devdas happened right after that, and that's the first time I met Christian, and he's wonderful man, and we kept in touch. And subsequently, I was also one of the ambassadors of a brand that took me to Cannes several times. Also, my
mhm.
dad displayed Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum at the Cannes market, and we actually were the first people to sell a Bollywood film to Europe. So I don't know if you know this, but Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum was one of the first films that was sold to a German distribution company, and then subsequently released in France as La Famille and the End. And that's how I think that whole European explosion happened for Shah Rukh Khan films. Because my father, I remember.
So I'm just going to interrupt and tell you that when I traveled to Paris for the first time at the not the first time, I think it was the second or the third time, I spotted the Great Indian Family DVD in the museum, and I was like intrigued. I said, "This film I've never heard of. What is the Great Indian
The
Family?"
Swami Samani Landian.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and that my dad had sold it for $5,000. And I remember laughing. And I said, Papa,
Mhm.
like, who sells something for $5,000? He's like, और किसी ने कुछ कहा नहीं, कुछ ना कुछ तो हो ही जाएगा. He didn't live to see the impact it had in Europe, because not only that, it began like it steamrolled into an entire plethora of films that kind of broke through. And then subsequently, as I said, post that, I've been to Cannes several times in the official capacity for Bombay Talkies, but in the massively official capacity for the first time with Homebound, like in a properly
Okay.
officially selected category with a certain regard with Homebound. Yeah, this is my Cannes debut on that red carpet in many ways.
Uh-huh. And Neeraj, second time for you, or have you traveled before,
No, I think
after?
second time. Second time.
Second time. And what makes Cannes special for both of you?
I mean, for me, I think
It's
it's a
the
very
holy grail, no, of great cinema. Like Cannes is like the, it's the ISI chap of like best of world cinema. So I think if you get into Cannes, it's like I remember when Neeraj called me and said he tried to play it cool, and he said, "Hey, hi, how are you?" And then he said, and then he took a beat and a pause and said, "We got in." And I screamed so loudly. I don't think I've screamed that loudly on the box office of any of my films or like any award. I just want to tell you, no honor I have received in my life, it made me give this kind of a reaction that I did when, because I knew that we really needed Can to kickstart the journey on Homebound. I knew it in my heart. I didn't want to say it because I was like, it would be such a dampener we didn't get in. So I was like beyond excited. As I
I
said,
was
it's the
actually
holy grail
honestly
of great.
not expecting it because, as you can see, this time the competition was so high. All the masters had written everything. We really, honestly, I had given up, and Karan was trying to console me and saying that it's okay. We put our best foot forward, and but he's like he refused to actually honestly believe that it's not. I was actually rather nihilistic because I thought that it's not going to happen, and
When did they tell you finally? Just the day before
literally,
the announcement?
the night, next day, they were announcing 1 a.m. we got to know, and I called him. He was at dinner, and I mean the scream. I can't forget the way he screamed.
Yeah, I screamed loudly, like loudly. And by the way, I'm not a very effusive person. Like, I don't know how to show excitement ever. Like, to the biggest achievements in my life or the biggest like high points, I don't know how to scream, shout, scream. I always like, I think the same imposter syndrome he has, I have it too, by the way. I want to tell you, like, I always feel
That's why we connect
like,
so much,
yeah, I
Karan.
think we're a double imposter syndrome producer director team. But I just knew how much this meant to Homebound, and I knew how much it meant to Neeraj and me and to the entire team. And so it was my gut reaction, and I was alone in my house, and I screamed loudly, like loudly, and I was like, "What? I can't get over it!" Like I was like jumping literally with excitement. Just goes to show how much of a big deal it really is to filmmakers.
Couple of last bits which I wanted to fill up on. Again, indie, but I was quite intrigued about the casting bit here, Neeraj. You have taken names who are again, identified with the mainstream world. Uh, how was that? How did that come about? Taking Janvi, taking Ishan.
Yeah. See, again, like I said, I'm of a person I believe I'm not at all thinking that I'm making a film with Karan Johar. This thing. Yeah, there is definitely an interest that the kind of stories that I say, that if it gets a bigger platform, it reaches the people that I intend for it to be viewed and have a rethink. Because otherwise it's a claptrap in a intellectual circle of can viewers that you watch and that's it. But is it going to the ground level? So I was greedy about that, and I was being very honest that yeah, this gives me a commercial platform to make it go to a certain different centers that normally my film would, and to have, and again, like honestly speaking, like I would if I made this film again, I would recast the same cast again. And Ishan, I've always been wanting to work with him. The kind of it's very difficult to talk without the film in context, but once you see it, you will know what they've brought to the table. And Janvi, I've been wanting to work with for a long time. Since the time actually we were going to do a biopic together. And it's so unfortunate the way she's been looked on social media, but you will see a different side in this film, and I really cannot wait for the world to see her in a different light, and to come with such sincerity and such honesty that I have never felt that I am in a if I'm working with commercial stars on in my relative way, I would say call them stars. They completely came with 100% surrender, and the dignity and kindness they brought to the characters is something that, I mean, they were meant to be, I would say. It's not like, okay, fine. I know there is a lot of this debate that keeps coming about. On that, I usually feel that, yes, definitely you get foot in the door. You have a lot of money to work upon yourself, acting physically, on your face, a lot of things you can work. But, eventually I feel, and the classic example would be Alia, because true talent will survive the test of time. I feel that way. And as a filmmaker, I don't want to see when we are trying to not look down upon, like in my film and through my work, I want to bring in through a certain kindness. Like you've seen Gili Pucci. Like I'm not trying to, the other side, I'm not trying to vilify them, I'm not trying to like put them into like I'm not saying that I won't bring them on board and talk, which is what I also am doing in this film. And but same way, I think we are too mean. Like also we indie filmmakers also have a chip on the shoulder that these people they have, but the money is circling around and it's coming to you, brother. Like the film is getting made only because a certain kind of films are getting made. It is,
Yeah.
yes, we can, and these, and thankfully all these kids are so smart. They actually acknowledge their privilege. They come from a deep sense of understanding that we come from privilege, but we want to come with zero things. Like she literally, like I mean, I'll tell you later, but like I I I would make the film again. I would again cast her.
Mhm, mhm. No, no, you're very right. I've always maintained that not all independent films are or filmmakers are great, and not all mainstream commercial films are bad. I think this is a really
Yeah.
very blinkered way of looking at cinema. And
I mean, I don't have so much access to that world, barring a few forces of nature. But yeah, look, I get the main perception. It's just sad, like we are always combating perception, and perception is unfortunately a new reality. And like the moment you come from a certain part of our cinema, you get slotted. And no matter what you do, and no matter what your achievement is, your reputation, rightly or wrongly, will precede you. So I can, as I said, मैं कुछ भी कर लूं, whatever I make, I will be remembered for the perception that people will have of you, with the cinema that you kind of put out. So yeah, I still get people coming up to me and say, oh, you only make family films. I'm like, I made one film about a family, like one in my entire career. But nobody will say that. The family films means what? And NRI movies, like I can't bear that slot. Like, what does NRI movies or rich people's movies? And like, आई एम लाइक या सो नाउ व्हाट डू आई डू के रिच लोग हैं तो उसका मतलब कि किसी का दिल नहीं टूट सकता, कोई इमोशन किस के थ्रू नहीं गुजर सकता, एवरीबडी हैज टू बी ऑफ अ सर्टेन स्ट्राटा ऑफ सोसाइटी टू काइंड ऑफ अपीज टू अ सर्टेन लेवल ऑफ ऑडियंस.
Yeah, I mean, every film that way has its own grammar, and it works if that grammar, is in order. Whether it is whatever category you may put it in. So I think, so long as the filmmaker knows about it and delivers on it, then the film is good. Whether it is a highly commercial film or whether it is not. I think that's
I
the
mean, also
way.
on Namrata, like the way I have initially started out is that like I would want my driver to also appreciate the film. And so
Mhm.
maybe also the audience sitting in Cannes at Debussy. That has been my intent all through because otherwise, what is our responsibility? Are we just going to go get the laurels and like forget about it? There is also a certain sense of responsibility that I do feel. And the interest of that, I would also want to be like, I don't want to maybe reach the pinnacle of like the glass ceiling of festivals. I'm okay to compromise on that, whereby I do get that thing where I can actually have a film which anyone would watch and appreciate it as much as like even like a lot of my people at in Phantom remember like Masan, the crew, the staff there at once done a screening and they all loved it so much. So that is the whole idea of the way I see it.
Great. So I'm really, really looking forward to watching it.